as a little kid, I would grab the big headphones with the big foam rings, and I'd throw those things on with the big full size audio jack back in the day, and plug that into the receiver and put on some piano music. And a lot of times I'd fall asleep on the living room floor just listening to piano music. For me, that was my gateway into to rock and roll. That was really earth shattering musically for me, and opened up a lot of doors to discovering new music. We literally wore that CD out. Like, we had to buy it again because it got ruined from listening to it so much. When I heard that song, I was like, oh, this is very cool, but it's really different from the stuff I've been listening to. And they led me down a rabbit hole into like what you would call the alternative country genre. I never heard anything quite like it. Honestly, haven't heard anything quite like it. Still to this day, I think it's just a brilliant album that doesn't sound like anything else. Every now and then, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's really good. And found a new artist. Just hearing what inspired other artists they're into, and then checking that out and going down those rabbit holes and just finding new stuff.
As far back as I can remember, like 3, 4, 5 years old, I would sit down in the living room and play DJ with all the records and the tapes that my mom and dad had. I can remember in sixth grade watching Wake Me Up Before You Go from Wham on MTV, and I was like, wow, I've never seen a dude with two earrings in my life until that moment. Two of the first tapes that I actually had were from Run DMC and from the Beastie Boys. I am positive I wore out multiple copies of License to Ill and Raising Hell. I probably bought each one of those at least 3 times, if not more. My parents didn't approve of it either. I just didn't let them know I was listening to it.
Right, right.
But that kind of springboarded me into a completely different world. You can pretty much go see a band any night of the week in multiple venues, and it's just a great local scene. They have picked up listening to a little bit more country, and I'm sure in another episode I'll expose you to my approved country music, newer country music artists that I approve of. I think one of the things you said, Graham, is that you like to try to keep current and you try to listen to some of the newer stuff and always be evolving.
The combining of music with short form film was always really interesting to me. One of my first cassette tapes was the Cocktail soundtrack, the Kokomo single. I don't remember what was on side B, but side A was Kokomo, and I loved that song. And then I discovered the Beach Boys actually made music before the 80s, and it was pretty awesome. When the Blue Album by Weezer came out, I felt like everything I loved about the Beach Boys was in that band too, but it was modern and had been brought to another level and a younger, relatable, generational level for me. But that was a big part of growing up as well. Other artists that I really got into at that time, like REM, and I had a phase right before that where like the Wayne's World movie was really impactful and got me into some like rock that I hadn't got into before. Lead singer of Deep Blue Something, Todd Pipes, he taught me freshman English for a little bit. I literally saw him after he left from being a teacher. I saw him just a few weeks later on Conan O'Brien. It was like, this is insane.
It's New York Rise.
I distinctly remember the first time I heard that album, the way that he described the first time you listen to Clarity, or really any time you listen to Clarity. You start to get older, you start to have kids, like you just can't sometimes escape from some of the newer music. We just have to watch it until Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on, and then we can go do whatever else.
He was known as a songwriter, a musician, an actor, and just reading up on him, one of the other ways that I've described him is he was just a damn good human being.
It's just amazing to me. There were probably some people that only knew him from film and didn't even, maybe not even knew that he also had the storied songwriting career that he had as well.